Amazing. I see we are live, guys, as always. Good, absolutely morning, good afternoon, or even good evening, depending on your time zone. And welcome back to another Spellborne live with Ghosty. And as always, guys, before we do get started, it isn't a space link, but it is a stream link that can still be reposted, liked, shared, commented, bookmarked, all those good things. But I do just want to check in swiftly here with Ghosty first. Ghosty, what's going on? How are we doing today?
Good morning, Basa. I'm doing well. How are you doing?
Muted myself for there for a sec. I'm doing absolutely fine. I'm doing absolutely beautiful actually, and thank appreciate you asking. But yes, super excited to dive once again around the topic of gaming, and of course, again, just appreciate these conversations here with you. But how are you? How are you doing yourself?
Yeah, doing good. Just been busy, with the token launch coming. We're just trying to make sure that everything that we're trying to put for day one, it's picture perfect. There are no bugs, as well as we're preparing for a lot of things for to be launched after the token launch. We are trying to make sure that there's enough content in the game at the launch as well as after the launch. So a lot of things are being planned at least 1 to 2 months in advance. And just today, I had like 3 calls with different event partners to finalize dates for different events that we're working on. So yeah, a lot of things going in the background. And right now, the primary focus is to make sure that the game is ready, make sure that the everything is ready for the token, for open markets, for guild tokens, and everything. So yeah, a lot of things going on,
Love it.
and super excited to talk about those in this stream.
Yeah. Can we possibly know when we'll see like a first announcement on these events? Is anything able to share? Maybe some teasers here and there, or not yet?
We will be launching 2 of our events before the token, and rest of those events will be after the token and like the token launch itself. And players should be able to see one of those events going live either this Friday or Monday. The date isn't final as we're still internally testing it out. But once it does go live, everyone will know because we are working with a lot of partner guilds. So the first event that will go live will be the guilds event, where different guilds will be able to participate and just work on a ranking system and just make sure that they get as many points as possible, so that the the best guilds, as the top ranked guilds, will get points. Those points convert to tokens. So a lot of things going on there. But the first event, that is it's for guilds, and it will be going live within the next 4 to 5 days. And the second event that we are talking about is the what we called Summoners Trial, which is kind of a rebrand of the Wheel of Fortune. And this event has a lot more partners compared to the guild event. I would say 4 to 5 different partners working with us in this event alone, as we are trying to make sure that this is one of our bigger events, since the Wheel of Fortune performed really really well based on our targets. So we are trying to make sure that this event also does perform maybe even better. And yeah, these 2 events are being targeted to launch before TGE. And there are with based on the current standing plans, 3 more events that are planned after TGE. And we're still talking to more partners who are interested in either getting onboarded as a guild or onboarded as a integration partner, as we're kind of now spacing things out.
And again, I think this is exactly where I wanted to one hone in, get the community excited. I see a few people tuning in already here in the comments. Guys, by the way, any questions related to the future, coming weeks, coming months of what you want to know around Spellborn, definitely leave your comments here. But go see something I also, you mentioned, and kind of just want to hear it from your perspective, right? I believe I asked it about it a couple weeks ago already, but it's still kind of happening today, right? We're seeing so many again Web3 gaming projects come to an end. I really don't know what it is it about this quarter specifically where a lot of these gaming projects has announced a either a a big change to a game, or it's they're kind of sunsetting their businesses. What do you think is happening right now in Web3 gaming, and why is this a scenario that is actually happening for a lot of Web3 gaming projects? We'd love to hear your thoughts on this, Ghosty.
So if you look at all the fundraising that has happened for Web3 games, it mostly happened around 2021, and after that it kind of slowed down. It was very difficult to raise funds, and I can tell this from experience. Like in 2021, if you wanted to raise 10 million, you could. If you wanted to raise 100 million, you could. But after that point, once that bull market ended, after that it was very very difficult. And uh, I would say this is coming from experience, and this is true for not only newer developers but also experienced developers. So the markets, they got really really tight because investors did not see any returns from the previous investments, and games were just doing the second round or the third round, because of course gaming does take a lot of funding to build out a good game, as well as when you add the Web3 elements on top, it becomes insanely difficult. And when you look at games in general, the strike rate for a successful game is very very low. And it's not only true for indie games but also for AAA titles. And when you look at most Web3 games, they are considered to be indie, regardless of the fact that they have raised 15 million or 30 million. They will still be considered an indie game. They shouldn't be, but still they are. And when you look at indie titles, the failure rate is very very high. Like it's above 95%,
Mm,
99%, to be honest. And it's very very high. So it's very very common that this would happen. This is something that anyone who has worked in the gaming industry before can expect from games. And it's totally normal. Like
mm,
so many studios shutting down, because if you look at the reasons as well, either the reasons are because they did not find a product market fit, which is totally normal. Like you could build out a game, and you could build out the best version, but if you don't find users, then there's no use to keep the game alive, because keeping a game alive also takes a lot of fun. So it is taking a lot of funding, and that funding has dried down. So if they raised funding in 2021, most of these games did not do a follow-up round, the ones that have failed. And even if they did, they are already running out of money, because Web3 building games is expensive, but building games in Web3 is much much more expensive. And I can tell you this because when for example, when we compare our spending to most of these Web3 games, they're almost 200%. 200%, sorry, not 200%, 200x sometimes. So for example, there was this one game that I heard about. They had a monthly expenses of like 1 million, and it wasn't even a triple A game. It was mostly a double A game. They were spending $1 million per month on building out the game, and the game wasn't ready after 2 years.
mm,
So you can imagine how much spending there is happening. And I would say that not all of this funding is being spent on the right cause. Like most of these games, they either spend on marketing videos, or even when you look at when the conversion of how expensive artists are in the Web3 space, it's insane. Like the differences are insane compared to Web2. So it's very very difficult for games to raise funds. It's very very expensive for to build games in Web3, and finding a product market fit in an industry like gaming, it's very very difficult. So these three reasons is what I think are contributing towards so many studios being shut down. If you see any other reason, it's primarily either a hack or
mm.
teams just not handling funds well.
Yeah. Ghosty, do you feel like again, like how you're breaking down the differences kind of Web3, Web2, but do you feel like Web3 gaming teams have this like expectations that they're gonna be like this next crazy game, but in all reality, like if we're comparing resources, if we're comparing our war chest to these AAA studios in Web 2, we are nowhere near around that type of resource battle. And I feel like that is just the reality that I feel most Web3 gaming teams just are in denial of. Like, they market this, they market that this is the next whatever it may be. and then sooner or later the reality sets in, and sometimes the biggest consequences also follow right after. But I don't know, do you feel like that expectations is really unrealistic here, especially in Web3 gaming?
It is. It is. So the expectation that the project will live forever, that's something that exists in Web 3. It doesn't exist in Web 2. If for example you're building a company in Web 2 and it doesn't hit product market fit, it's better for you to shut it down than keeping it going on, because you will end up wasting money. And mostly what happens in Web 2 is, if a game doesn't find product market fit, it has raised funding. What they do is they shut the game down. Return kind of whatever funding is left to the investors so that they can recoup at least their losses. And when it comes to Web 3, there's a expectation that the developers will continue building. Now, if they run out of funds, how will they build? Because when you compare what happens in, for example, a decentralized exchange, or something like a marketplace, you build it once and you're done with it. You can improve upon features. Those improvements are cheaper to make. But when it comes to a game, you build it once, you have to provide content updates, because most of these Web3 games are live service games instead of being a single release. So it becomes very, very difficult to keep track. And it becomes this expectation is kind of a burden for a lot of developers, because as a game developer, if I want to build out a game, uh, if I have an expectation of generating millions, I will build a live service game. And that's the expectation that is present in Web 3. And in Web 2 as well, you see most AAA titles, most AAA studios try to build live service games, because they know gaming is expensive, and it's much cheaper to keep on getting revenue from an existing game than to build out a whole new title. Because if you build out a whole new title, you need a lot more funding. If you
Mm,
have an existing game, you can just add on content updates, and content updates are cheaper. But if you
mm,
don't have any users, for example, in Web3, finding a product market fit is much, much harder for games. You can build a Ponzi scheme and it will end within a day. And that's something most games do not want, because when you spend about 3 years 4 years building out a game, you're not building out for the product to die down within a single day.
mhm.
So that expectation is not only from the players, from the users, but also from the developers within themselves, because as a developer, I don't want my product to die within a single day.
Right.
If I've spent so much time building it, I will try to keep it moving on. But if I run out of funds, then it's very difficult for me to continue that. So it's better for products to shut down than trying to make false promises, or try to continue on the journey with when they do not have when they do not really have the funds, or the energy or the team to build out the product in future. And it's pretty normal. It's seen as a surprising move in Web 3, but it's pretty normal in Web 2. And I think as I previously mentioned, uh, everyone should be ready for more studios to shut down, as a lot of the studios in Web 3, they spend crazy if they're
Mm,
not generating revenue on a regular basis. For example, even like when it comes to revenue as well, for most of the Web 3 games, most of the revenue comes from the NFT mints. And there's only so many NFT mints you can do.
mhm.
That's why with Spellborne, our target from the beginning has been to not generate as much revenue from NFT mints, but all generate revenue from secondary sales, or from sales of battle passes or bundles in the game. And till now, we have generated more revenue from bundles and battle passes than we have generated from NFT sales. That this includes our apartment collection, monster collection, and so on. So it's important that studios realize how this industry works. Of course, this is something that you keep on learning from day by day, because this industry keeps changing. But overall, this expectation does kill a lot of studios, and it will kill a lot of studios. And this is something that both developers and gamers have to realize, that if the product market fit does not exist, then the game should not stay live. And it isn't about your bags keeping alive, because keeping the game alive for a longer period of time doesn't mean that someday it will pick up pace. It's similar to how it happens for most meme coins. Most meme coins do not require a lot of development. You just click, you could create a meme coin, and then after that, it's just marketing. For
True.
games, it's development, it's marketing, it's future content updates. So it's a lot of funding that is required to build out even a single simple game.
I'm really glad I'm having this conversation with you, Gosi, and to hear it, especially from a founder that one is doing extremely well with his own game. I wanted to follow up because how did you do it with Spellborne, especially when it comes to like creating an income outside of an NFT collection? Because I think what you mentioned right now is super important, right? Like not everyone is going to be wanting to mint a collection every single time, spend money buying an NFT every single time. But how did you do it with your first like early users, especially when it comes to like building an organic support community around a new game, especially in Web3? I'm curious to know like just the thought process and the decision making process.
So I will say that for Spellborn as well, it has been a journey where we learned a lot of things. In the beginning, we were also spending like crazy, but then based on my experience in the past studios that I worked with, or the companies that I worked at, we kind of started using that experience and tried to decrease our expenses. And at one point, our weekly expenses were about $6,000, $7,000 for the whole team. And this team, as you have been seeing how crazy updates we ship, like almost every single week or the other week we are shipping updates. And till now we have built so many things. And that has been primarily, and the studio has been staying alive primarily because we have maintained our expenses. We're focused on building out things while making sure that they do not cost a lot in terms of development. They generate more revenue compared to what we are spending. And when we talk about how we created the community initially, so as I've always said, Spellborn is a community project. When we started, I always say that I reached out to my game developer friends, but that was after I had started working with a few community members on this project. Like for example, Albrecht is one of our artists. He was a community member. He was literally present in the Harmony community, and when I created the Discord, he was one of the first few members that joined the Discord. And then he started working on a few art pieces, and that's where we actually started. So from the beginning, it has been important for us to make sure that we build with the community, take feedback, and actually ship out things, be transparent about things, where the studio is at, where the game is at. And that has kind of worked out very well for us because that way community members feel that they're heard, and they feel that they're involved. And Web3 users, Web3 players, they love to get involved in games. So that's the primarily the primary reason, the primary step that we took. And I think it has worked out well for us in terms of building out a long standing core community. And you can actually see that regardless of the market conditions, there are always at least 60 to 100 players playing the game, regardless concurrent players, regardless of the market conditions, regardless of if there are any events in the game. And when there are any events, the number just shoots up 5 to 6 times. So for example, we had a enchanted weekend event, and usually we are getting like 2000, 2500 daily active users. On that event we had about 4000, 4500. So it just depends upon how you're building out the community. And it's important that you're transparent. It's important that you're transparent about your goals, transparent about the current state. And
Mhm.
you do not make any promises that you cannot keep in the future. If you make any promises, at least make sure that you can complete them at some stage in the future. Because for a lot of Web3 projects, it's usually these promises are never kept. For example, with Spellborn, these are kept, but they take a lot of time because we are a very small team. So that's something I always apologize to our community members about, because I love to start things. I love to build them out, but things take time to build. and I love to just share things in advance. That's something that I am at fault at, where if we start building out a cool feature, I'll just straight away share it in the holders chat and be like, do you like this, guys? Or what's the feedback here? And that's why we also kind of created the heroes group, where we selectively pick community members, because there are a lot of features that do not make to the end stage. They're cancelled, or and it involves either a lot of UIs, it involves a lot of features where gameplay mechanics are introduced. A lot of things are changed over time before they reach out to the public. So overall, that's how a good project should work. Otherwise, it's very, very difficult to keep attention in this attention grabbing economy, especially in this space. And it becomes very difficult for a gaming project especially to survive without having, for a project like ours who isn't spending a lot on marketing. Instead, we're using those funds and building out the product.
So, Ghosty, this is where I at least by myself as like a participant and a huge fan of just buying bundles and skins, etc. Right? How do you market these items out? Like, again, you're selling them, right? These are things that people have to buy, and so how do you like remove this extraction feel? Like, this isn't something that, oh, like I'm creating a marketplace where people can spend more money, but instead rather it's kind of like, again, when I buy skins for a game that I like, I don't necessarily look at it as I'm spending money on this game. It's I'm spending money because I like the skin that I'm buying, right? How do you market that, I guess, that message versus like that extraction feel?
Yeah, it's important that you know you are rewarding to your players. So for example, with Spellborne, you know, we have been very, very rewarding. We have been, for example, the amount of funding that, or the amount of the revenue that we have made from our players, it's much, much lower compared to the amount of things that we have given back. And it's important that you do that without having to, actually decrease your own revenue. So, for example, when we release a new bundle, usually it includes skins, usually it includes certain items that players really, really want. So if there is something, even a single item in that bundle that players want, they will spend on it, they will use that item, and they will feel that they have not been extracted because simply they wanted that item. The feel it's not that you want to remove that feeling of extraction, it's that you want to add that feeling of wanting that item or wanting that
Mm,
bundle. You can't really remove that extraction feel. Like when I spend on games in web 2, I like the games, I spend on them, but I do feel, in some way that I have been extracted because, at the end of the day, I am spending in the game itself, and I will not be getting that money back. In Web3, it's kind of, a little bit different because you can get some of that money back by selling those items on secondary markets. But it's important that you create a feeling of wanting that item.
mm-hmm,
And since we are adding a lot of things to the bundle, so it really depends upon what players want. And our goal is to primarily make sure that we add one or two things at least in the bundle that are something that are wanted by the player base. It could be your item, it could be your rare skin. For example, skins from the bundles, they provide bonuses within the game, so you can purchase a skin and get extra bonuses while taking actions within the game itself. So players will buy skins for that. Players might just buy skins to collect collect all of them from the marketplace. Or if they sometimes we include items that are consumable. So for example, being able to see the stats of a wild monster, it's a very, very uh, you know very, very important thing that you can do. But it is only available via a single item, and that item we added to the bundle, and that bundle sold really, really quick. So it's about selling things that players want. If you sell things that players do not want, and you add incentives on top of it, they will feel extracted, even if you are attaching it to an airdrop, or you're attaching it to something that you promise, maybe in future we'll give certain rewards. That feeling of extraction will not go away unless the player actually wants to buy it. So that's my take on it. Like we try to make sure that our bundles are something that players want to buy. And also something that I would share currently, that we're going to be phasing out bundles. Instead, we will allow players to buy gold nuggets directly. And since all the items that are present in the game, they will be tradable in the secondary marketplace, so you can just buy using gold nuggets and so on. And the second thing is, from now on, since these skins will not be present in bundles, so we will kind of allow you to buy gold nuggets, and you can buy those skins using the gold nuggets or the bond token from the marketplace directly. So the skins marketplace will also become a major player hub where players can buy skins from us, or from guilds that are selling skins, so or even artists that we
Mm,
will be partnering up with. So a lot of things are changing within the game, and these are things that we are working on based on player feedback, based on feedback from the heroes. Because at the end of the day, when you play Spellborne, or anyone who has played Spellborne, they do realize that this game has potential, especially in the Web3 space. You either play Spellborne, or you either play Poke MMO. You see the marketplaces in Pokemon, you realize how much potential it holds. And after that, it's just all about making sure that the game fits perfectly. So it's all about the game is present, the game is good, but it's not perfect. And how you make it perfect is making those smaller changes in the economy. So that's why we are phasing out bundles. We will be bringing the skins marketplace into the spotlight for players who want to buy new skins. For the old skins, you can trade them in the secondary marketplace that will be also available within the game itself. And for if you want any items, you can stake the token, you can buy from Glory Store. So
mm,
that's basically free items for holding the token or holding apartments. And apartments give a bigger multiplier, so there's a 300% multiplier from the beginning on apartments. For the token, it's 100% multiplier, but you will be getting a bigger multiplier if you stake the token on day one, and not just day one, within the first week. And yeah, so that's more about the settler's glory. Is that from day one there are going to be a lot of incentives for token holders. So if you are a token holder on TGE, then you can stake the token on Black Hole, the partner decks that we are working with, and you can get a lot of incentives. So they have their own airdrop campaign. And if you want more tokens for another token, like for another platform, you can just stake our token and you get a lot of incentives there. Or you can stake our token within the game itself in the Settlers Glory UI, where you can get in-game items. So it's up to you as a holder on what you want. Either you want more tokens, or you want more in-game items, rare cosmetics that you can sell for bond tokens within the game itself. It's all up to the
mm.
players, as we are trying to make sure that we keep every audience set in check. So if you are a trader, if you're someone who is more interested in dexes, then you can stake there. If you're someone who is more interested in the game economy, you can stake in the Settlers Glory UI.
Man, first of all, there's a ton of alpha guys that Ghosty is sharing here. I hope everyone in the audience is listening. And Ghosty, a couple points you've mentioned, and you've already answered a few. I was just thinking out loud, right? Of like the concept of giving the power back to the players. And you mentioned how guilds are able to sell their own skins, sell their own bundles. You even mentioned that you're partnering up with a couple artists, right? I think considering today's title of just like what do gamers really like, I think this is kind of like the new modern day identity persona of a Web3 gamer, right? Is one that is actively participating in playing the game, but also one that is participating in giving back to the game, maybe via, again, creating your own guild, creating a sub community within Spellborne per se, right? And I think it's really cool when you give a team or a guild the ability to have, essentially their own marketplace and sell their own bundles, sell their own skins, right? I feel it's kind of like this hybrid model now where the gamer is also a player and participant and a contributor all at the same time. And so, again, it was such a fascinating thought as I was just listening to you there. And to follow up, I saw this post yesterday And I wish I bookmarked it, but I'm trying to recall it from how I read it. But essentially, someone shared that they believe that crypto gaming shouldn't be a mass like a MMO, all right, this mass multiplayer online game. Instead, crypto gaming should focus on a single player personalized experience that kind of caters and showcases of how blockchain is integrated in the game itself. And so I'm curious, just go see your perspective on this, right? Do you think Web3 gaming should be more single player centric? Or, again, is it coming down to if you were to pursue an MMO style type of game, that it comes down to how you market it, how you position it, right? Would love to hear your thoughts on this, Ghosty.
So the this thought is, like, it can work, but it won't. It just won't. Like a single player game in Web3, players will play the game. It's going to work perfectly, but it won't live long. And that's something that, when you are allowing secondary trading within the game, the players or the holders will expect like the game to get more updates and the game to stay alive. But the problem with single player games, and if you play any single player game in the web 2 space, be it the best game, for example, if we exclude Red Dead Redemptions or Red Dead Redemption 2's online gameplay, the game was very, very good. But no one really, if you look at the view player count, it would have dwindled down. And if you look at GTA Online, the player count isn't dwindled down. The difference between both, one is a multiplayer, one is a single player. When you play a single player game, you play it once and you're done with it. You can't trade those items on the secondary marketplace. But the problem with those is that once the game has been played by most players, the secondary marketplace won't really exist if you're allowing trading, because in the Web3 space, it's all about ownership. It's all about being able to trade those items outside. And if there's no expectation of value that players can extract from the game, then they won't really play it anymore. So you can create a single player game. You can create, you can allow players to trade the items afterwards, but the problem is that the game would die down very, very fast. And that comes back to your original point about expectations that developers and players have, is that the game will stay alive for a very, very long period of time. It won't. It can't. If it's a single player game, it 100% cannot. If it's a multiplayer game, it has a higher chance of living, because as a multiplayer game, you can build out the game once, you can build out content once. After that, players are playing and they can create their own content, and they can keep the game alive for a longer period of time compared to what a single player game could have. So it's important that players can interact with each other. It could be in instance based multiplayer games where you're not interacting with a whole lot of players, but could be at max maybe 50, 60 players on a single map. But you need to realize that the players that are playing these games, they have an expectation of value that they can use these items or trade these items in secondary marketplaces. Those items will not hold any value if no one is playing the game. So that's something, the notion is, if you think about the idea, it from someone who isn't involved in the web3 space, or who isn't a web3 developer, they will say that a single player game can work. But as a web3 developer, you know what expectations players have from you, what holders have from you. They're not looking for something that would die down within a single day. They're looking to make value. They're looking to make, have fun for a longer period of time, for because web3 projects have the curse of living forever. And that's a curse that developers live with. And a single player game has a lifeline that ends once you have finished the storyline, or once you have finished the gameplay. So that's something that needs to be kept in mind. But overall, I would say single player games cannot survive this market. Multiplayer games are very, very hard to make, and the hit
Mm.
ratio is so low that that you see so many studios dying down because they can't find so many players, because there aren't that many players that are interested right now.
And this is again great observations here, and something that I almost want to make a prediction on. I feel like, if you were going to be in this space to create a multiplayer MMO, whatever it may be, one, I think attracting the right ideal user is going to be your first key step. But second, creating again a healthy feedback game loop, something that your players can reiterate, come back to, time and time again, and of course, um, kind of just give their own feedback on what they think is good and bad about the game. And thinking out loud again too, Ghosty, I'm curious on one, how do you think, well, everything we've shared so far in today's discussion, where do you think the next era of gaming projects are going to be in, right? Do you kind of see this new refined approach, especially when we talked about earlier around like resources and being realistic with the expectations of this space? Do you feel like Web3 gaming will finally see a more matured, refined approach? Or do you think we're still kind of stuck in some sort of like echo chamber of where we are in Web3 gaming?
We still are. We will be stuck in this echo chamber for a longer period of time. I don't expect it to change very, very soon because, this industry is very young, and
Mm,
all the users that are involved are also very young. And when you look at the developers, they're also very, very young, like most of the developers that are involved. And you can also see, like, most of the successful games that are present in the Web3 space are not built by developers who have experience before,
mm,
or who have years of experience. Axie Infinity developers did not have years of experience, or games that are doing well on Abstract. The developers did not have years of experience. They had experience in the Web3 space. They had experience with the industry.
mm,
So you need a little bit of experience with the industry so you know how to target your audience. But at the end of the day, new ideas work, and making sure that you are able to connect with your audience, it's very, very important. So I don't expect this space to change as per se, but I do expect it to grow slowly. And I do expect that in future, funding will be much, much harder for games because of the current state of how studios are just floundering all their funds.
right.
And it will be, I do expect like lower funding announcements. So previously we had studios raising like 100 million from NFT sales. We shouldn't expect that anymore.
Yeah.
A stable number that is much, much lower would be actually bullish for the project, because raising funds in current state, it's very, very difficult. And even for projects, like, when I look at these projects, the first thing that comes to my mind is, why didn't they just open the game up to the community to build out in
Mm,
the future? Like,
mm,
if they don't have the funds to continue the game, they could just open source it. And for us, for example, at Spellborne, most of our developers have worked in the open source space. So, for example, I, three of our lead developers previously worked in open source games. Like, they had either one of them had their own project, who had like 16 developers contributing to it. So you can imagine that we have experience in this, and that's why our ideology of allowing the community to contribute to the game in a meaningful way, be it community designed quests, be it community designed skins or guild marketplaces, these ideas come from there. And those ideas allow us to actually make sure that Spellborne lives longer than it can. And Spellborne's economy is more interactive than it can be, compared to what Poke MMO's economy is. Like, in
mm,
Poke MMO, you can trade items, you can trade monsters, and that's it. You're done with it. In Spellborne, you can design your own skins, you can trade them, you can sell skins. As a guild, you can create your own marketplace. As a player, you can capture monsters, but you can trade items, you can trade skins, you can do all sorts of different things. And then there's the additional benefit of us building this game on a custom engine, which is in JavaScript. So even someone who does not have experience with building out a game, just a bit of software engineering experience, they can contribute to Spellborne. They
mm.
can easily contribute to Spellborne, because the tech that we are using in the background, it's something that you learn as a second year or a third year computer science major. So it was very, very important for us to make sure that the game was something that players could contribute to, community could contribute to, as an artist, as a developer, as a guild. And I think we're moving in the right direction, right steps, to make sure that, even if the game runs out of funds, or the studio runs out of funds at any point in the future, the community can still keep it alive, because they will have a much, much bigger stake. And even for me personally, I will, continue working on this project as long as I can, without, for example, so I'll mention this honestly. I haven't paid myself in the past 1.5 years.
Wow.
For the past 1.5 years, I've been working on this project for free. And this is from the time we raised funding. I could have
Mm,
paid myself, but I'm not really interested, because I love this project. I see its potential, and I am fine with working on this for as long as possible, and making sure that this game stays alive as long as possible, because I'm interested in, where this goes. Like the open markets, the guild markets, the guild tokens, all that stuff has so much potential, that if, we are able to, you know trigger it in a correct way, if we are able to, implement it in a correct way, then we can make sure that, the game performs well for a longer period of time. So overall, that's my take on, what the current state of studios is. I don't expect this industry to change, and we will 100% see similar game ideas being implemented again and again. I say this for someone who was active in the previous bull market, in 2018 or 2017, as someone who was active in 2021. And I can say this, that ideas in this industry are repeated so many times, that I can say that, we do not learn anything. Like the
mm.
developers, the community does not learn anything. It's that the new players, new users, new liquidity that is coming into the market, that's smarter. So that's why it's difficult for projects to raise funds, but it's still dumb for developers to re-implement ideas that failed before. And I'm not just talking about gaming, I'm talking about dexes, I'm talking about socialfy. For example, we had a socialfy platform in 2018. It failed. We had the same platform, same idea being built in 2021. It failed. And in 2023, we had Frentech, same idea, failed. So it's that the industry is very, very slow at learning, and I don't expect this to, be any different for gaming.
Man, first of all, extremely well said, and I even like the touch of your own. I feel story into this. Ghost, you haven't paid yourself in 1.5 years, and honestly, I can even sense in all of our spaces and streams we've done together. I still feel that same passion from you, just wanting to build such an awesome game. I'm curious, Ghosty, like really outside of what you just mentioned on like the potential you see in Spellborne, what keeps you going in this space, right? I feel like, man, Web3 is a beast. It's a monster that any new dev experience or inexperience in this space have to deal with. But I'm just curious on a more like personal note, what really keeps you driven and keeps you going around building an awesome game in the space?
So as a developer, so for example, I'm not sure if I've shared this before, but I started when I was 11, and that's when I built my first website. And it was me solving a problem, and that website took off. Like it made me I think $300 in the first month, and
Mm.
that was my first income in my whole life. And I still have that email, by the way. I have it framed in my room. So overall, what keeps me going is that I know what happens when you build out good products. I know when what happens when you build out something that the community loves, or your user base loves. And that feeling is what keeps me going. A good
Mm.
product could be, could do well, but the response that you get when you build out a good product from the community is it's entirely something different. And for me as a developer, I want to build good things, and I am someone who is always making sure that whatever I'm building, it's picture perfect. And that's why, what has happened in the past is, a lot of times we build out something, we reach 99%, and then something I do not like or the team doesn't like, and we scratch that feature entirely. So that's something that has happened many times, because what we are trying to make sure is that any steps that we take, anything that we build, it's for the betterment of the game, and it should be something that brings positive feedback for the game. Like
Mm,
anything that we do, it has a ripple effects for the game itself, because this is a MMO, like it's a instance based MMO. So any action that you do within the game, it's directly related to at least 20, 30 different variables, maybe 100 variables. So you have to keep a lot of things in mind, and that's why a lot of things get scratched. But whatever makes to the final version, if we get good feedback, I absolutely love that. So that's something that keeps me going. And overall, I like to build good products. I like to build good games. I like, I have worked on games, I have worked on products that have been very successful before. And overall, that's my goal, to make sure that this game, as even as a community game or as a community project, I can make sure that it reaches its final stages, and I have to make sure that it is as successful as it can be, because it has a lot of potential. It has a lot of potential. It's picture perfect for how the Web3 space works, and anything that we can add on top of it, it's just an extension. It's just something that we can add at a much lower cost, because we were able to build out a custom game engine rather than depending upon Unity or any other platform. So overall, what the steps that we have taken and all the things that has brought us to this point, just makes me more bullish, because till now we have had so many community members come and leave, and every time they come back, they always see that the project is in a much better state than the last time they saw it. So it's always good to get that feedback that the project is always improving, or the game is getting better day by day. And I absolutely love it, and I absolutely love to keep working towards that direction where I can build out a good product.
man, this is the type of drive that I want to hear again on this type of notion. Look, guys, with this at least 12 minutes remaining, I see we have a lot of or questions coming into the comments. And yes, will ask Ghosty here, but I just want to say, man, Ghosty, solid conversation once again here. And I appreciate just hearing your insight, hearing your opinions, your thoughts on things. To address a couple questions, I think people want to know, when can we see staking of their apartment NFT? Ghosty, any insight on this one?
So, as I mentioned, it's part of the Settlers Glory UI, or the Settlers Glory event, which will go live with TGE. So you will be able to stake your apartments. You will be able to collect glory points. You will be able to, spend those glory points for different things. Either rare items, or limited edition cosmetics, skins, and sometimes even monster claims. And we will be making sure that that market is very active. But overall, as a holder of an apartment, you will be able to stake them on day one. The UI has been ready for a very long period of time. We just can't ship it, because the token needs to be live for the whole contract to be able to trigger it. Like
Mm,
when we add the staking contract, the token and the apartment NFTs both stake into the same contract.
mm,
So that contract needs the token address to be deployed, and that's why it's taking so much time. Like when the token goes live, you will have staking, you will have a lot of utility for apartments. We're also improving the renting UI, so it's much clearer. It's easier to rent your apartment for guild creation and so on. So and as well as tournaments, because those are currently being tested. But overall, a lot of utility coming for apartments, a lot of things that we have been stalling, I would say, are coming together for the token launch.
there you go. And again, I think that I want to address the user here that was from Insane. I hope we answered that question there. Ghosty, you also mentioned a few things around the Born token, and I think it was towards like the middle half of the conversation. It seems like there's so much value when you're one, you own Born, but most importantly when you stake Born. Can we just go over again of those benefits and the value of doing so?
Absolutely. So if you have the bond token from either the airdrop or you buy it on a secondary marketplace, like the decks that we're working with, you have two options, or primarily three options, but the third option is just spending. The two options are either you stake it on Black Hole or you stake it within the Settler's Glory UI. If you stake your tokens on Black Hole, you will be getting getting to be a part of their airdrop, as they also have an active airdrop campaign. And Black Hole is very innovative in terms of how they're improving things on existing ideas. So I am pretty much very bullish on their project. And if you are so if you're interested in getting more tokens, then you can uh, uh, stake your tokens there. If you are interested more in the game economy, now when we talk about the game economy, you can stake your tokens within the game. So you can stake it in Settler's Glory and you can earn glory points, which gives you the ability to buy items for free. So you can basically buy items for free, sell them on secondary marketplace, and get more tokens from other players. And it's kind of a free money loop where you get free money for holding tokens, but that free money is based on the demand of those items in the secondary marketplace. So you have to be very careful about what items you want, what items you're selling, what items you're holding, as the utility of items or the demand of items keeps changing from time to time, as the market will be very dynamic based on the presence of guild marketplaces as well as the main marketplace. So as a bond token holder, you can stake your token in two different places. And the additional benefit of staking the token in Glory's or Settler's Glory is that you can spend that staked token directly. So you don't have to unstake it. You can just take the staked token. You can, within the UI, you will have the option to, for example, minting monsters, or minting any NFTs, or buying items from the marketplaces. You can just simply click a single button and you can use spend your staked token. So while it is side by side earning you glory points, you will be able to spend it within the game. And you are able to get all the benefits of a token that is tradable from just staking. The additional benefit is that you're getting a lot of glory points, which you can spend on free items, free skins, and all sorts of different things. As the glory store will have a lot of things that are not sold in any way in rest of the game. So these can be monster cosmetics, these can be special breeds that are not available in the wild or in different events. And we will be also working with a lot of different partners to bring in additional benefits for players that are staking within the game itself. So it's a very difficult choice, and this is coming from the game developer itself, but it's a very difficult choice for players on where they want to stake. And I would suggest it's just dependent upon what your goals are. So if you want more tokens, just take on Black Hole. If you want more items, want more monsters, cosmetics that you can sell within the game, then sell and then stake within the Settler's Glory UI. And in terms of the token use cases, you will be able to use the token in tournaments. So tournament based, where entry fee is paid in bond tokens, you will be able to use it for trading items, for trading monsters, and you will be able to use it for a lot more things. So certain NPCs will also demand the bond token for certain actions. For example, changing your monster's personality, which is very important for a lot of players. So those kind of things are going to be handled by the bond token alone. So it's very important that you hold and stake, and both steps are very important for a token holder, for a player, for a speculator. It just depends upon what your targets are.
Man, guys, I hope everyone here is listening. And again, I know we're trying to fit in as much alpha within the last couple minutes of today's space, but I think there's a lot more opportunities here to gather such info. But look, guys, if you encourage you, I see a lot of people even make comments of, yes, I need to revisit the game 100%. You guys definitely need to come back here and try Spellborne, or even just play Spellborne again. But look, Ghosty, just for the last couple minutes here, is there anything that we didn't get to mention in today's space, but you did want to? Please go ahead.
Yeah, I would just reiterate regarding the events that are coming very, very soon. So, if you are a part of a guild, please make sure to collect as many crystals as possible, as they will be required for capturing monsters in the Guild Wars event. If you are not a part of a guild, please find a guild. You can find all the guilds listed within the game or the Spellborne wiki page as well, and be a part of a guild, as it become brings a lot of benefits. You can, share gold targets with your guild members, and as well as get a lot of items from the fortunes of war event within the guild system itself. So be a part of a guild as soon as possible, as that event is coming. Secondly, be prepared for the second event, which is regarding the Wheel of Fortune rework. So, what we call as Summoner's Trial, as that event has apartment NFTs that has new monsters, three new monsters to be specific. And if you are waiting for the airdrop, the token is going to launch within Q2, and we will also be bringing out the second starter monster mint. So previously we did an airdrop. Next mint will be paid in the bond token. So please hold your bond token for that event as well, as it will be a limited edition mint. And yes, those three monsters will also be available as mounts within the game. I've already shared a few sneak peeks around how you can mount monsters within the game. I shared, I think, one for Skitten's mutation, one for Cayman's mutation. So you can ride these monsters around. It's very, very cool. It looks very, very cool. And for those three monsters as well, mounts will be available. And that is a separate event that will be coming out near TGE, maybe after TGE. And then we have two or three more events with other partner projects, which we will be kind of announcing to bring more projects, more players into our ecosystem. So a lot of things for players to get ready for. At the latest, collect as many crystals as possible, because the Guild Wars event is going to be insane. We are bringing so many guilds, onboarding so many new guilds, so many players. You will see a lot of player growth within the next, I would say, a week or two. So yeah, be prepared for everything. And overall, any questions, please make sure to join the Discord and just ask the moderators. You can ping them. Please do not ping me. You can ask a question. I'm always reading the chats. But yeah, overall, any questions, feel free to ask us. A lot of things coming for the token launch, a lot of things coming for open markets, a lot of events, a lot of content, and yeah, and anything that players want, we're happy to give them.
Love this, man. And again, guys, thank you to everyone here that attends these bi-weekly streams. I know there's a lot of alpha to unpack here every single time, but Ghosty, again, I agree with this comment here. W dev and W game 100%. I'm 1000% behind that. Look, Ghosty, it's been a phenomenal hour. To everyone tuning in today, guys, thank you to everyone that joined today's stream. I encourage you, please follow Ghosty. That's all I will say. He has his own personal account, but also shoot a follow as well to Spellborne. It's probably one of the best way to support such a base dev and a base team. But look, with that being said, we'll wrap up everything here right now. As always, guys, thank you to everyone that asked questions, made comments, just contributed and showed up in today's stream. We will see you guys once again next month, right? I know June is right around the corner, but nonetheless, Ghosty, thank you again, and we'll see everyone next time, guys. Have a good one. Cheers and peace, everyone.